Francis Ngannou shook up the world against Tyson Fury, and now he's on the sidelines. He might be waiting for a Fury fight. We might be seeing, I'm pretty sure Saudi are going to make him an offer for someone else. So the question for the table is, where does he really fit into the heavyweight landscape now, and what other top fighters do we think he could actually match up well with?
From his standpoint, he only fits in at the top of the heavyweight table in terms of what he's looking at. Because I think that Francis Ngannou would understand, if he's had enough sparring and things like that in the preparation for the Fury fight, that you put in a brilliant performance against Fury, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you can beat guys even at European level. And I'm not saying he wouldn't, but like, I look at like, I wouldn't make him a favourite necessarily off the back against Fabio Wardley. And there's a few fighters, fighters stylistically that Francis Ngannou,
stylistically is the issue.
Stylistically, if Francis Ngannou goes in with even good heavyweights, even like a Hrgovic, someone like that, I'd go, yeah, Ngannou's going to have a good chance. But against certain styles, and almost a style that Fury should have implemented on the night, and he wasn't able to. Francis Ngannou didn't allow him to. But stylistically, there's a lot of heavyweights that I go, I definitely wouldn't put you as a favourite against that fighter.
I think my thing with Ngannou is, going into this fight, nobody could have prepared Fury for this. Nobody knew what this guy was going to be able to do, the switching southpaw thing. You'd never been able to predict that. Nothing in UFC highlights showed you that he was capable of this. So for me, I'm like, this was the going in blind. Now we've seen him, there's going to be guys who are able to go and have a full camp on this guy's arsenal. I think for Ngannou going forward, he's going to have more than what he showed against Fury.
And he does,
he will.
No,
that's the problem.
This is the thing, is what surprised me is his best weapon was barely used, his right hand. For some reason, he fell in love with, going southpaw. And he actually is, he is adaptable at southpaw, but his right hand is the shot. And I'm surprised he didn't actually implement that more.
My thing is, I didn't know anything about him. I went into this fight as blind as the most of the boxing industry. So we played with his name. And then after you hear the story, even when he was telling me about what he's gone through, he's made for the big moment. When he said, after this fight, he said, I will be better. I'm going to come back and be better. I believe him. He was one of those fighters that says he saw things that he was doing. I think he went into that fight thinking, oh, maybe I can do something. But maybe his own true DNA of a fighter said, I might be able to shock the world. Now he says, I've gone in against the best. The worst thing that could happen is him experiencing that night against the best and thinking, I won that. And you lot, this is the boogeyman of the division. Say no more. The next time you see me, I'll be a better boxer. I have more skill. I know how to manage rounds because I haven't fought for that long. Now we'll see a better version of him in his next fight.
Is there a world where you can be worse though? Like, I don't think that's possible.
I do.
Personally, yeah. I think if you've never boxed before, you have that level of experience, the light bulb must have gone off in his head now.
Francis Ngannou didn't get to where he's got in life by being naive, right? So that's the main reason this isn't going to happen. But if you're looking at it, is there a world he can get worse? I think there's definitely a world he can get worse in his next fight, because I think that potentially he will look at it and go, look at what I've just done to the best one.
That's right.
Okay, whether you agree with Fury,
yes.
Look at what I've just done to the best one. If I've just done that to the best they've got to offer, what am I going to do to the likes of a Dylan White or not Oval in any of the fringe world level guys? What am I going to do to the likes of them? Yeah, what if he's right? That potentially could be it. But I think that once you get to Everest, it's very hard to then go, and do climbs that are lesser than that. And I think that he might find that if he starts to fight fringe world level guys, like, let's not forget here, right? By heavyweight standards, he's not the oldest heavyweight anyway, because you can go on a lot longer. Yeah. He's now ranked in the top 10 by the WBC, isn't it? So there's a couple of guys above him in that top 10. If he has a fight with them and he wins a fight with them, all of a sudden he's in a mandatory position. Yeah. And if, for example, all the top guys are tied up with the Saudis, potentially that's a fight there that he might be able to think, okay, let me have this so I'm ranked number one. At the same time, it's a good payday because now I've got interest in my name. At the same time, I can test my skill set a little bit more. But I just think that there's always that chance that mentally he's a little bit less prepared for the next one because he thinks, well, I've already done this to the best one. What am I going to do to you?
I don't see that at all. I think we saw him eat an elbow, full-blooded elbow. He took that and I said, oh my goodness, who is this person? We saw him on the inside roughhousing. We saw a guy that's never boxed before say, you know what? He switched to southpaw. You said, what are you doing?
I know.
Why? Comfortable.
Rightly so, by the way. Travis rightly, because he should not be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see that but in MMA because of the way he's been trained. And apparently I've got it good insight. His training camp, he was doing that every single sparring session.
You know what the ironic thing is? Dylan White, first round against Tyson Fury, came out southpaw, and I thought that was his best round in the fight.
Yeah.
So Francis Ngannou's probably watched that a little bit and thought, yeah, I'll do a bit of that. You know what I mean? And I think also, your style can change massively when you convert from MMA to boxing, because you've got less to worry about in terms of what's coming back at you.
Right.
But I need to see a little bit more, because listen, if it was as simple as one performance means you're the man, then Buster Douglas was the man. But he wasn't, you know what I mean? So I need to see a little bit more to then go, yeah, he's one of the top 10 guys. He's ranked top 10, but at the moment, I need to see a little bit more.
One thing that gives me confidence is from hearing what level he was sparring, they were nowhere near the top guys, right? So they were bringing in, good,
just big bodies,
big guys, big. I think it was Eastern European boxers, like tough guys, good skill, but nothing that anyone's ever heard of around this table.
Yeah,
and he was still able to go in there and just implement that against Tyson Fury. He doesn't have the fear factor that a lot of these heavyweights have, and we were talking earlier about belief. I think he has all of the belief in the world
with Mike Tyson in the corner as well.
Well, yeah, and I mean, although it was a bit of a gimmick, it certainly looked cool. And we're thinking, you've then went from not having a lot of money to having 10 million minimum in the bank, where now you can really invest in your training, in your nutrition, to a level that he's never been able to, buy a certain level of sparring partners, and to evolve his game, pay for better training. I really am confident that he can be better. But in terms of who he matches up with, let's talk about some of the other heavyweights, lads.
And that's why you got to be smart. There's one heavyweight that I want him to avoid, like the plague, Zhang. There's some people that derail what we're trying to do, and that's why it's the choice, because
I think everyone's thinking that about Zhang.
Yeah, that's the whole world. He's like a problem. Yeah, like, he offers things that you don't want any of those problems now, and it's the picking, because when Saudi understand there's money here, so they're gonna treat him like how they treat other heavyweights that we're looking after. We're not going to ruin the bag. We'll probably potentially see, if Dylan was here, he'd be the prime opponent. But Chisora, while it was the Chisora thing, they'll give him a nice fight, because they're probably saying, look, let's keep, Chisora's already got in with Saudi anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, it makes sense. Offer up Chisora as sacrificial lamb, help him. It's how the game works, unfortunately. It's how go on.
Sorry, question. Why do you think Ngannou said no to AJ?
He wants Fury. And right now, by all accounts, if Fury goes and back-to-backs Usyk, it'll be Ngannou after that.
Wicked.
Yeah, but if you're managing Ngannou's career, that would be a huge mistake. Waiting on other fighters winning fights doesn't seem to work well in the heavyweight division. So I would be looking at them going, if Anthony Joshua does go the Helenius route, or whoever's next,
Hrgovic,
sorry. If AJ does go the Hrgovic route for the title shot, and Wilder's sitting there, you offer them the two biggest punchers in the world, arguably.
That's only if Hrgovic doesn't lose, because he's in a life and death with Mark Demori.
Well, Mark Demori.
Did no one think you looked? I looked at that poster and I was like, mate, that is absolutely. What is he doing there?
You could rearrange this card. You could ironically make such a good card just rearranging the fighters on this card. But yeah, I think maybe we'll see either. I mean, Eddie Hearn was very keen to get Anthony Joshua in there with Ngannou,
because he knew they saw things. These boxers, they're like the real boxers. They'll look at a performance, as you lot are saying. I've seen enough. I've seen things where you can expose like some of the things he was doing, and now the footage is there. Okay, this is how when he throws that shot, how he leans to the left or leans to the right. They're looking at everything.
This is why boxing's so strange, and it's like the furthest from being black and white as you could get. Because before the fight with Francis Ngannou, right, I said, I don't know if Francis Ngannou beats Johnny Fisher, and then after the fight, it's like, God, what a stupid comment. Yeah, I still believe that. I honestly still stick by that. I'm not saying, he hasn't elevated what I thought of him massively. I still don't know whether he beats Johnny Fisher.
So in terms of the people he's actually being linked with, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, those caliber of fighters, does anyone around this table think that he is a legitimate threat to those guys?
This is the way it's like you're saying, it's so difficult, because I personally don't, even though I wasn't a believer before the Fury fight, and then I got it completely wrong, but I still, when I was watching him, I just think it was a really bad performance from Fury. I think we're judging him based on the worst possible Fury we could have possibly seen. And I just think despite him dealing with Fury well and showing little, I think he showed us a lot, so it made us think, oh, he's a lot better than I thought. But actually, if I kind of when you look back at it, he done nothing spectacular. It was such simple, basic stuff. It was just he wasn't scared to stand there in the pocket with Fury.
Fury, bro.
He dropped Fury, so like
Never
it almost.
Pajic just dropped Fury. Like I'm not taking
No,
it
but
away
I'm saying
from him.
he dropped Fury. That's still spectacular for someone that shouldn't be there.
But what I mean is, if you look at the techniques he done and the things that he done, it was nothing amazing, but. Yes, it was enough. It was enough to drop Fury. But I just when I look at other heavyweight guys, like someone like Joshua and guys like that, I can't see them having that problem because we've now seen what Ngannou's got.
That's right.
Fury was like the first guy, and he clearly underestimated him. So I just think everyone's seen the chinks in his armor. We've watched him, and I just think if I was another heavyweight looking at him, I'd think there's so many gaps.
I think Deontay Wilder. If I want to say a name, I think Deontay Wilder could have a problem, and I only say Deontay Wilder purely because I don't know how good Deontay Wilder is.
Teddy Atlas literally did a video a few days after we went, I'm telling you now, Francis Ngannou's a better boxer than Deontay Wilder right now.
No,
right?
Yeah,
but I've never ever rated Wilder. If you look at like,
but the point is why is Wilder a problem? Because he hits hard. Power. He's a hell of an athlete. Francis Ngannou does that, and has actually a bit better fundamentals. It's nothing special, as I've said. And one of the things we're saying, what did he do? He dropped Fury. Other people have done that. Has anyone ever made Fury look that timid and that intimidating?
Oh, no.
And literally run. Literally run. In the last round, he was like, get the fuck away from me.
Can't wait to leave.
So, based on that, who do we know who's a bit timid and tentative right now? Yeah. Anthony Joshua, right? And I would just be interested to see how he reacts because, again, we've had lots of conversations where you, as I said, you kind of don't know until you're in there and you feel it and you're like, oh shit.
Absolutely.
And I'd be interested to see how Anthony Joshua responds to that because do I think AJ is a better boxer than Ngannou? Yeah. But do I think Ngannou is far more fearless, more aggressive, and just more of a man? I do actually, and I'd be interested to see how that works out for him mentally. And
I think in that fight, it just literally would just box him to a decision. I reckon it would be as simple as that. I don't think he would play. He's not going to take risks. He's not going to go.
But Ngannou will take risks, and that's the thing with AJ though. Yeah, there's a lot of people in there who allow him to do that. But he won't allow that.
Ngannou tried a super punch against Fury, bro. When I saw him do that, I said, "Oh my goodness, who is he?"
I just think Joshua would go do that. Like when he fought Joseph Parker, he done that pretty boring fight, but he kept it along the second when he fought Ruiz. The second,
you're in there with guys who don't have a shred of the power though. Here's the thing with Ngannou is you have to deep the fact that when you're in there, at some point the question will be asked, are you, we know he's technically capable, but like, there's that X factor that Ngannou has, that Deontay Wilder has, that no one else has, where it's like, you're going to have a moment there where it's do or die, and AJ, we've only seen one time where that's happened against Andy Ruiz, and he didn't choose to did he?
But I just, you could be totally right here. I just think when it comes to, say, Fury, I think when Fury felt the strength of Ngannou, he was in absolute disbelief. I think mentally he was such,
for real.
Yeah, I think he was in such disbelief. I think in his mind, he really thought it was going to be that easy. And when he felt the strength, his whole mind was just blown instantly. And I think at that point, he couldn't adapt like he normally do. He did eventually towards the later rounds, but I think it took him a lot longer because the strength, he'd never felt a guy like a bloody rhino in there with him. I think it really did shock him, and I just think all the other guys won't be shocked by that because we now know how strong he is. We've seen him in with one of the biggest guys in the division, and I just think possibly Ngannou's lack of not respecting the guys enough could be his undoing against the guys who are a little bit sharper and are going to be essentially prepared for what Ngannou's got. That's why, especially like someone like Wilder who can shoot a right hand from across the other side of the ring pretty quickly, a guy who can knock anyone out. Someone like him, even Joshua at this stage, he can still bang, and I just think Joshua will hit him a lot more than Fury would. Fury literally just like he was like a little boy in there. I think he was just so shocked by his strength and his power and what he had in front of him. He was just so mentally underprepared. I think that was the biggest factor in there. But yeah.
And Ngannou doesn't have the best head movement to get out of the way of shots. So
he done nothing special. This is my point.
Yeah.
Do you know what the biggest strength he had was his belief in there? I don't think, when I say he knocked Fury down, and you can say, like, how was that not spectacular? I just think it was because he literally stood in range with no fear. Normally, when people are in front of Fury, they're scared of what's coming back. Maybe Otto Wallen was one of the few guys who literally went at him and didn't care.
And he danced though.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like, when someone's dancing like they've knocked you down, he wasn't dancing out of surprise. He was he
was dancing out of fear. He wanted to stay away.
No, what I mean is Ngannou was dancing when Fury is dancing. When you're doing that,
what are you saying now, bitch?
Because he was like, time to go to school, and he's like, you're a bad teacher. I love that line.
Do you know what's so funny? Is these UFC fighters are different. We have to like.
He's different. He's different.
He's different. I think he's different because
he's special, man.
There's not a queue of UFC.
If you look at a lot of UFC guys, that they haven't got his punch resistance. Like you say, he ate an elbow like it was nothing. That whole guy's life.
No, but I'm saying he looked like he belonged in that arena. That's the thing. When he was sitting down on the chair and you saw him, he's like, I'm ready for this moment.
All the other UFC fighters bow their head to Francis, though. Like even Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman, who walked to the ring with him.
Yeah.
When they were asked, like, if it was the three champions defending, who's the main event? They all went, it's Francis. He's they acknowledge the who he is. He's a special athlete. But for right now, I'm getting from the table, not one of you thinks that anyone at the top level who might face it
I think it'd be
is in danger.
I think that's you can't say that word with any heavyweight. I don't think he's in danger. I just think. It's just not a case of a danger. They're all in danger essentially because.
I'm going to rephrase the question. Do we think percentage-wise that anyone going in there with Francis Ngannou, that Francis has a legitimate chance that he is likely to beat any of them? Or do you think they'll pretty much do what some of you have said they'll just take him apart, jab him off, and that'll be the end of Francis Ngannou?
I think more times than not, that's what the fight against Ngannou will look like now.
Yeah.
Because with this data, like, you can't underestimate what guys can do with a full camp preparing for an opponent. Mm-hmm. Fury went in blind. It's a similar experience as a late replacement. You're going in with no data. Okay, cool. Let's just see what happens in the ring. Unfortunately, Fury couldn't quickly find a resolution for what Ngannou offered.
He went in worse than blind. He went in with false data.
Yeah.
Remember the pad work we were saying?
UFC.
You were thinking, shit.
Rubbish.
And then Ngannou's thinking, I know, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So now these guys are going to watch and go, okay, cool, we can switch a bit. He's got this and that. He's strong, got a lot of power. Keep him on the outside and box on the end of the jab.
I just think styles make fights so much so that you can literally match up someone from the C category into the A category and go, that guy could actually beat him. So when I was saying, for example, right, maybe it's a bad example, when I was saying about Johnny Fisher, right, when I look at Johnny Fisher's build and the way he is and his strength, I'm like, I'm not guaranteeing that Ngannou beats Johnny Fisher. However, you could put Ngannou against one of the guys that is levels above Johnny Fisher and stylistically. And that's the beauty of the heavyweight division. So is there a chance in my head that Ngannou could beat an AJ, a Wilder, a Fury if they fought again? I think there's a chance of all of them. But I'm just saying, as big as that chance is, I would also say, ironically, there's as big a chance that he could lose to a Johnny Fisher, to a Fabio Wardley, to someone like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that because, like I said, there's nothing that he brings spectacular. Now we can all be prepared for what he's got.
I don't like what we're doing, Gyla. I don't like what we're doing at this table at all. I think we're doing it injustice, and we did this when the fight was announced. We said, what the hell, Ngannou, and all UFC fans were telling us, guys, don't do this, And then we were like, nah, get out. And then we said Fury's going to control him. He's going to dominate him all these rounds and stuff. And Fury, I don't care what anyone says, is the best in terms of in the ring. So far, we can say that he has been the best. And Fury, he threw 9 more punches than this man. So now when Chisora, I think Chisora loses. I think Dillian loses. I think the fight against AJ is interesting, but AJ has the tools to get him through with the jab, and AJ's he's got a better fighting IQ. But to now mess around and say that this guy is not going to improve from that last fight is ridiculous.
No, well, listen, you can look at it a few different ways. You can say, like, sometimes when these MMA guys, like you mentioned earlier on, sometimes they're the hardest guys to actually fight because they do things unorthodox. Him actually entering into the boxing world, mixing with more boxers, changing his style at the boxing could actually be more negative and kind of be easier for boxers to kind of predict. That's one.
No, but then we argue, when we came in earlier today, we spoke about Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron, right? And we talk about Katie Taylor hitting the canvas and it should have been counted in what it does for a fighter. As Ngannou saying to himself, I knocked down the heavyweight champion of the world. I knocked down the lineal champion. I'm coming back.
Yeah, but
I'm going to beat I'm saying that White Light does something for you. It has to. We can't leave that as a non-entity or say, it's not special.
He mentioned earlier, when you start coming off the back of a performance like that against Fury, you could have an entitlement that now says, I just did that to Fury. What the hell are you going to do to me?
What about that
and then
guy?
You get knocked on your ass.
What about that guy that says entitlement and he's going to not be ready?
I've got an argument. I'm going to make an argument. I've just been formulating this, right? I'm ready. You all say Deontay Wilder is the most dangerous man to face Anthony Joshua.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
In my opinion, Wilder and Ngannou's power is very comparable.
Yes.
Right? By the maths, by the stats, all of that, right? Who has the better chin? Ngannou.
Absolutely.
Who has the better boxing fundamentals? Ngannou. Who's the bigger man, the stronger man? Ngannou. So, and don't get me wrong, does Wilder do some things better? Does he close the distance better? Is he a bit faster? Yes.
He's twice as quick.
Yeah, he is quicker. Yes, he is.
Can we say he's got a better chin just based on his MMA experience?
That elbow
told us a lot.
That elbow, I reckon, puts down any heavyweight. I genuinely believe that.
Loz. Fury could not hurt Ngannou. He hurt Wilder.
But he was punching like a scared boy at this point. It wasn't the Fury that was seen delivering punches with authority against Wilder.
He delivered the elbow on purpose. That was a planned elbow.
Do you know why he got knocked down, Fury? If you watch it back, he hits the 1-2, does nothing. Then he goes, fuck him. And he put everything like that. So he goes back for more. And then he gets dropped because he wasn't doing anything.
He goes back for the same thing again.
The same
he hits the 1-2, goes,
fucking hell.
Try again.
And so I'm just saying, when people are saying Ngannou isn't a threat to AJ or these guys, I'm like,
no.
I think he really
no one's saying that.
I don't actually think that is it. Like,
no one's saying that.
It was harsh on Ngannou, what I was saying. What I'm saying is, let me put it into percentage. I give him a 20% chance against AJ. I give him a 20% chance against Wilder and a 20% chance against Fury. Now, let's remember, mandatory challengers, often I'd give about a 5% chance. So I'm just saying, of course, I think it's stacked in all those heavyweights' favours. I'm not saying that Ngannou can't beat these guys, but I just think that maybe in another fight's time, 2 more fights' time, I'm going, no, he is top 5 and he sits at the table with the top of them. But I just need more of a sample size. And the point you made there about knowing what you're going into now and being able to go, right, here's the 10 rounds of Fury, right, we'll work on this, we'll do this. That can't be underplayed. Like, that's massive.
That's the difficult thing, because at this point in time, the data generally doesn't lie. And I think we're all giving him a little bit of an invincibility because of this performance, and how can we not, based on his UFC record as well? It's almost like he's invincible. But generally speaking, if you look at the history of boxing, and generally this doesn't happen where MMA fighters all of a sudden transition and take over the heavyweight division.
Do you know what? In regard to his chin, just to give you a bit of background on it. His first ever heavyweight title fight, he was completely underprepared for what he was going to go in with, because he was still a kickboxer. And the guy who was up against Stipe Miocic was arguably the best heavyweight ever in the UFC at the time. He wrestled him. And Ngannou was getting ground and pound, and he was exhausted. He had no gas tank at all. He was just all muscle. And he got the heck beaten out of him at times, and he was just still there with them tiny 4-ounce gloves. It's going to take an absolute hammer to hurt this guy. So if there's one thing I'm absolutely convinced on, is the best chin in the heavyweight division. I believe it.
In all honesty, I haven't seen his UFC all his career, so I can't really comment on that.
But this is the thing. It's like, we're talking about a boxing match. I think if we start talking about who can knock Ngannou out, then we're going to be in a thing of okay, there's a very short list of possibilities here. But in terms of winning a boxing match,
good point.
I think there's going to be a lot of guys who can outbox him for 12 rounds.
I'd say he beats Chisora.
Dillian.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Dillian in the ring again. I'd say he beats Chisora. I'd say that he'd be very interesting against Hrgovic, against the likes of Zhang. I wouldn't give him a chance.
I wouldn't put him.
I think Zhang's a nightmare for everyone, to be fair.
Yeah,
any shouts?
I haven't got confidence in, like I say, the only confidence I've got is him potentially landing that bomb. But it is that 20-80%. I don't give him a big percentage against any of these guys.
I'm thinking when he starts landing that right hand, it's going to change the whole